Mel Gibson, who's maybe having a little bit of trouble finding work, is shooting a sequel to Passion of the Christ. Passion of the Christ 2.
Now, I didn't see Passion of the Christ 1, but it feels like kind of a contained story, you know? I mean, the Christ is killed, then he rises from the dead again.
You'd think that the second coming would need to happen for them to make a sequel.
Hey, everybody, I'm Tim Miller.
And I'm Cameron Kasky, and this is FYPod. We've got some really dumb stuff this week. It's a very dumb week of the show.
Great. That's normal. I mean, isn't it?
No, but I think that Alcatraz and Hollywood is extra dumb for Trump stuff, because I think that a lot of the Trump stuff we've covered that totally is dumb, not very well thought out, is also super evil, whereas Alcatraz and Hollywood seems a little bit more dumb casual.
Okay, well, speaking of dumb casual, we should probably start with the breaking news, since we've been since right before we got on here. So this is a masculine podcast, a podcast for young men. You know, it is important to address sport news. And the NFL commissioner was in the Oval Office just a minute ago with the mayor of D.C., who seemed extremely uncomfortable and didn't learn any lessons from Gretchen Whitmer. And they were there to announce that the NFL draft in 2027 will happen at the Washington Monument. They also discussed Alcatraz there. But, we're just going to make sure that our youngest gladiators are chosen for their team of choice right under Donald Trump's nose. He'll probably get to sit there like a Roman emperor of some kind, you know, sitting over the selections.
Yeah, I guess that really solidifies the NFL as our Coliseum, where gladiators are fighting to see who can get CTE the quickest and become the net. I'm surprised Trump hasn't appointed Antonio Brown to some position. For those of you who don't know, Antonio Brown is an NFL player whose brain got hit so hard that it turned into pudding, and he started tweeting weird, red pill shit. And it was pretty funny. I hate to say it. Antonio Brown, I mean,
his brain might be pudding, but his tweets are pretty funny because he's willing to go there. You know, he goes to places that the rest of us, we have that limiting principle in our head. And for me and Cameron, we can put our feet on the gas pretty far and get up into the red before that little clicker in our brain is maybe you should chill with this. But Antonio Brown's clicker is gone.
No, we cook harder than your average bear, but Antonio Brown is just at another level. But, all this is to say, that's very stupid, the Washington Monument thing with the NFL draft. I can't say I'm a very big fan of that. And it goes to show that Trump really is not letting up on the culture war thing. You know, he loves his UFC matches. He loves his NASCAR races. And he's really going the extra mile to make sure MAGA has a chokehold on cultural things like the NFL.
Yeah, I got to say, we should play this clip because this is from the press conference where they're talking about the draft, but they move on to Alcatraz, which is something we want to talk about. Let's play the clip.
How did you decide to reopen Alcatraz? Can you walk us through that decision?
Did I say what?
To reopen Alcatraz. How will you use it? How did you come up with the idea?
Well, I guess I was supposed to be a movie maker. We started with the movie making and we'll end. I mean, it represents something very strong, very powerful in terms of law and order. Our country needs law and order. Alcatraz is, I would say, the ultimate, right? Alcatraz, Sing Sing and Alcatraz, the movies. But it's right now a museum, believe it or not. A lot of people go there. It housed the most violent criminals in the world, and nobody ever escaped. One person almost got there, but they, as you know the story, they found his clothing rather badly ripped up, and it was a lot of shark bites, a lot of problems. Nobody's ever escaped from Alcatraz, and just represented something strong having to do with law and order. We need law and order in this country. And so we're going to look at it. Some of the people up here are going to be working very hard on that. And we had a little conversation. I think it's going to be very interesting. We'll see if we can bring it back in large form, add a lot. But I think it represents something. Right now it's a big hulk that's sitting there rusting and rotting. You look at it, it's sort of, you saw that picture that was put out, it's sort of amazing. but it sort of represents something that's both horrible and beautiful and strong and miserable, weak. It's got a lot of qualities that are interesting, and I think they make a point.
I want to get Cameron's take on the Alcatraz stuff. You seem like you have some thoughts, but I do just want to call out Muriel Bowser there, the DC mayor. It's like, what made you think when you're like, hey, I'm the mayor of DC, a city that went like 97.8% for Kamala Harris. I'm guessing, I didn't pull up the number. And I got invited to the Oval Office, and Donald Trump wants me to be there next to him for an announcement. And Roger Goodell, the famously kind of MAGA-ish, crooked NFL commissioner, will also be there. Like, why did you sign up for this photo op? And then he's in there ranting about how the movies showed that Alcatraz was the greatest ever, and people got eaten by sharks when they tried to escape Alcatraz, and we're gonna put the worst criminals in the world there. Why would you put yourself in that situation if you're Muriel? It feels like a big error, a judgment error.
Yeah, there's this misunderstanding that even a lot of very intelligent people, quite a bit more intelligent than I am, seem to be having right now, which is that if you play nice with Trump, he'll play nice with you. And this is something that a lot of studio heads in Hollywood, which we're also going to talk about, were doing, which was, a lot of the people who run the big Hollywood networks, whatever, they were on their shareholder calls talking about how, this new administration can do big things for us. And I think that people, Paramount with 60 Minutes is a great example. People think that if you play Trump's game with him, he's going to play nice with you. And then it's like, no, if you play Trump's game with him, he will also go in and try to fuck you even harder.
He's always going to want more and more and more. I don't really want that sexual image there with the mayor of DC. But yeah, I don't, it is like, it's a total clown show. He's talking about all the immigrants that are coming in. He's obviously going to say racist stuff. Just as a general matter, if you're a businessman or a Democratic politician, like, you don't need to go to the ribbon cutting with them. Even if you decide that it's better for your bottom line, if you just want to be a capitalist like Ed Elson, our best guest so far, and possibly the new Cameron on this podcast going forward, if you want to, care about your bottom line, okay, you can do that, but you don't have to do the propaganda. It's not a requirement.
I mean, like I said, it's this thing with people where they think that if they act like they're Trump's friend, he's not going to treat them like they're his enemy, but he's happy to bully his friends. Like, I mean, you saw Elon Musk's brother, who was on the board of Tesla, was tweeting about how bad the tariffs are. And it's like, there's no degree to which playing nice with this guy is going to make him nice. And he's not thinking about what the effects of what he's doing are. So he can very easily screw one of his friends over, not completely aware that whatever he's passing is going to have damaging effects to these people, which brings to mind things like the Hollywood attack.
Yeah, we had some good news, some interesting developments. I discussed this a little bit this morning with Bill Kristol. We had an interesting development, though, since then. Jon Voight of Jon Voight's LeBaron, this is an elder millennial reference, was the person that got this idea in Trump's head. He had a meeting with Jon Voight, who's very in touch, I think. I mean, you're somebody who's pitching scripts, has Hollywood friends, has maybe some Hollywood aspirations. Like Jon Voight, you have to think, like when you think about people whose finger are on the pulse, that you'd want advising the president on what kind of tariff policy might help Hollywood. That might be somebody to turn to.
I'm sure someone's finger might be on Jon Voight's pulse to make sure that it's still happening. Yeah, I know Jon Voight. He was in Francis Ford Coppola's $100 million disaster Megalopolis, where he was talking about his boner. People in Hollywood don't want to work with Jon Voight. He's only in movies like that Ronald Reagan biopic that's just filled with canceled actors nobody wants to work with. And Voight was appointed alongside Sylvester Stallone and Gen Z icon, friend of the Jewish people, Mel Gibson, to save Hollywood and to make Hollywood great again. So there's this problem, and this is where my industry expertise comes in, although you don't need to be much of an expert to know this. Production is moving out of Hollywood. Like, work is drying up in LA. A lot of the working actors who I know and a lot of the working actors I see on the Reddit threads and everything are talking about how even people who have been working for decades and have been consistently working, they're only getting an audition or so a month because production is moving out of LA. Where is it going? It's going to Atlanta. It's going to Toronto. It's going to London, and it's going to places with, get this, not to get financial here, not like I'm your new favorite Gen Z or Ed, but they're going to places with tax incentives. They are going to places that offer tax incentives for production. So there are not as many things shooting in cities like New York and LA now because it's fucking expensive to do it. Now, Trump sees all these productions leaving Hollywood and leaving the country, and his friends John Voight, Sylvester Stallone, and Mel Gibson, I guess they were bored because nobody's hiring them to be in movies anymore. So they were trying to figure out what was going on. And they said, you know what, we're going to do 100% tariff on movies that are produced overseas. So something like Avengers 5 right now, the type of movie that, you know, whether or not it's the most artistic and creative thing, it's shot in London at Pinewood Studios, and big releases like this are what keep theaters open. So while the movie Deadpool and Wolverine last summer genuinely made me lose brain cells, it was very good for keeping movie theaters open and keeping people employed. And it's big blockbuster films like this that are going to take the biggest hit from what Trump's doing right now, because a lot of them shoot overseas because they are offered incentives to do so, which brings to mind my favorite element of this, which is that Mel Gibson, who's maybe having a little bit of trouble finding work, is shooting a sequel to Passion of the Christ, Passion of the Christ 2.
Now, I didn't see Passion of the Christ 1, but it feels like kind of a contained story, you know? I mean, the Christ is killed, then he rises from the dead again.
You'd think that the second coming would need to happen for them to make a sequel, but perhaps it already did. Perhaps there has been a Jesus hanging around, but I don't really know exactly what it is. What I know is that this Passion of the Christ sequel, I guess we'll call it Passion of the Christ 2, is shooting this summer in Italy. So Donald Trump's friend Mel Gibson, who's part of the Save Hollywood committee that's saying they're going to implement this tariff, which we'll get into, doesn't make any sense anyway because it's not physical good. You know, it's a service, and you can't tariff that. He better have a conversation with Donald Trump and say, maybe make an exception for Italy. But this is just so dumb. And it's, I think, one of the more brazen examples of Trump just kind of going off an instinct right now. And I think that, this is my tinfoil hat talking, I think that it's tied to Alcatraz because he did the movie thing and the Alcatraz thing in the same night. I have a feeling Mr. Donald Trump watched a movie about Alcatraz, texted John Voight.
Do you think it was The Rock?
I don't know what that is.
Do you think it was So I Married an Axe Murderer?
Is that Mike Myers?
Yeah, it's Mike Myers.
Hell yeah, dude. I'm good.
They visited Alcatraz, and the late, great Phil Hartman was the tour guide, and he pretended, he said his name was like Robbie Robertson or something, but he goes by Vicky. And then Vicky gives the most off-the-chain tour of Alcatraz you could ever imagine, where he talks about how Jack the Ripper took a bitch whose eyeballs he took out, and then he started peeing in the bitch's ocular cavity. Great scene.
I must have missed that one. R.I.P. Phil Hartman. Trump doesn't deserve Phil Hartman. But this whole thing with the movies is like, first of all, how the fuck do you tariff something where it coming into the United States happens digitally? It's not like they're fucking shipping movies on, in shipping containers from China. Like it really goes to show the people who have been saying Trump doesn't know what a tariff is have probably been right.
I do think that that's really true. Just a quick update, because I had to Google this because I was just curious. Passion of the Christ 2 is going to cover the 3 days between the crucifixion and the resurrection, where Jesus Christ descended to Abraham's bosom. Color me interested in that.
Is that what type of bosom?
I think that Abraham was kind of like a sort of like a chest and arms guy on workout day, so he had kind of had a really, really big pecs.
I wish we could have Joseph Campbell on the show.
You know, and Jesus was kind of Jesus was kind of skinny. So he was kind of lean, and so I think he's sort of just like nuzzling up into Abraham's big pectoral bosom. I think is what happened there. I don't know. We'll have to see. The thing about it that's so stupid, we also have lost to the movie industry here in New Orleans for the same reason. They got rid of the tax incentives. It seems like there's a pretty easy solution here, which is that you should be making it cheaper to make movies here, not making it more expensive to make movies here or make movies in multi location shoots. So I don't know, that's just some basic Adam Smith free market economy for us. I know that, some of the socialist listeners may not like that, but it seems to be that making it cheaper to make movies here would probably be the thing to do. But we'll see what happens.
Yeah, Yashar tweeted last night that where this seems to obviously be heading is there's going to be studio heads going to the White House. I mean, David Zaslav of Warner Bros. Discovery had said that this Trump administration is going to offer some new opportunities for the company, and look what's happening now. And then you're going to have a Trump-Newsom Hochul fight, right? That's the thing that makes the most sense to me as far as where this is going to go, is Trump is going to turn this into a big fight with Newsom and Hochul. And part of me feels like this is a Gulf of America type thing where Trump is doing this to keep the headlines busy while he's doing some other completely reprehensible thing. But the problem always with that theory is that then he has the press conference that we showed earlier where he's covering all this stuff. He talks about the immigration shit and how he wants to take all these people and put them in El Salvador, and he kind of lumps it all in together. I think he has an addled mind. I think it's more like it is an addled mind than a strategic one. Cameron, did you have anything else on Alcatraz or the movies or this Trump stupid bleats before I ask you about what you've been up to? Yeah, so just real quick on the Alcatraz thing, I was looking into it and how Trump said that the Alcatraz thing was just an idea, which even the just an idea thing makes me think he watched the movie. But for those of you who don't know, Alcatraz was closed more than anything because it was too expensive. It was closed because it was an insanely expensive way to do the exact same thing that ADX, Florence, and others do at a fraction of the cost. It has no modern security technology. It is an island, and it is a million times more expensive than doing the exact type of crazy prison shit that they do at comparable locations. So like shipping building materials and food and paying these corrections officers.
I don't think we're going to feed people out there, but it's a fair point.
Totally. Good point. I take that one back. It's one of the most expensive cities in the entire world. And this is just, it's cruelty, of course. Anything that involves Trump is cruelty. Anything that involves Trump and incarceration is going to be fascist level cruelty. But this is also just stupider than a lot of the other things he did, right? Because doing this in El Salvador is, so terrible, so cruel. It brings to mind the fact that Auschwitz was not in Germany.
Poland. Fun fact.
Regimes like this are happy to outsource their cruelty and outsource their human rights violations. But this one is all of these bad things and dumb. And it's like, where the fuck is your Department of Government efficiency now? It does not seem very efficient to use this ancient museum as a way to lock people up. So I don't think that this Hollywood tariff thing is going to happen. I think that what he's going to get is a lot of studio heads kissing his ass and maybe doing some favors for him, or maybe trying to be a little bit nicer to him on the news organizations that they run. I think he's going to be able to fleece some people for some stuff here, but it's like, it's the type of tariff you can't fucking implement. And it will open us up to reciprocal tariffs from countries whose markets we rely on for movies, right? Like when the big Marvel movie comes out and, it grosses $400 million domestically, China is a huge part of how these movies make money. Foreign markets are essential for these blockbusters, and love them or hate them, whether you're an independent cinema fan who wants to go see Anora instead of Avengers 5, these movies keep a lot of people employed, they keep theaters open, and they keep the creative industry running so the creative people can afford to make the really good stuff that costs a lot less money. So I see this being disastrous, and I know that the only people who are going to pay the price for this are the working class creative people who power the industry. So 0 stars, Mr. Trump.
I love the globalist cam is out. I love that. We honor all globalists here on the Bulwark. And the other thing, I don't know if you made this joke intentionally, but you catch the Dave Portnoy, that guy that had a bar stool And he owns a bar, I guess, in somewhere, Philadelphia, I think. And some of his employees posted some anti-Semitic stuff, like "fuck the Jews" or something. And he was ranting. Good, doing well. Good on you, Dave Portnoy, for taking accountability and saying, we don't allow this anti-Semitism, in this casino.
He had nothing to say about Elon Musk's Sig Heils, by the way. So he didn't.
Well,
one.
We're nitpicking, but he does this, and then he says, when I find out the staffer that does this, I'm going to send them to Germany. They're going to go to Auschwitz, where they'll get educated on what happened in the Holocaust. So close. Intentions were good there. Details a little off. But, that's what's happening over there in the manosphere. I want to know, speaking of the manosphere, what's happening in the cuckosphere? You are hanging out with the liberal cuck influencers of the world. Is there any testosterone there? Are there any men there?
So for those of you who don't know what Tim is talking about, hopefully all of you, I am at a conference in Washington, D.C. called Trending Up for liberal content.
Trendaragua?
No, not yet. Maybe next year. Trending Up.
Okay.
And it is for liberal content creators. We all are at this hotel, very nice hotel. There's like a convention center-y section of the hotel where there are panels. I'm actually going to read you the schedule so you can all get an idea. But this is it's very much like a high school overnight field trip. You know the overnight field trips where the teacher puts scotch tape on your door so they can tell if you snuck out of your room to go have sex with other people. It feels like a field trip, and since half of my friends here are like plucky 20-somethings, and the other half are all in their late 30s, because it's all content creators, not just Gen Z, no age discrimination. It does sort of feel like there are teachers. Like I'm running around with fucking Harry Sis on, and I bump into, Jordan Yule and Keith Edwards, and I'm like, oh, hey guys, hey teachers. But here's what's going on at Trending Up.
Is there any kissing happening? Is anybody kissing at the camp?
It's day 2. I'll let you know.
Keep us posted.
But Trending Up, we empower creators to leverage their platforms for social good, giving them the tools and knowledge to drive meaningful impact on the issues they care about. Our community, okay, already boring. Here's the schedule. So this morning we had something called the Importance of You talk with which is so content creator, the idea that we are important. With Maxwell Frost, where they were talking about stuff that I've heard a million times. We had an educational skills and breakouts session with the following panels: mastering the media, engaging with reporters and traditional media, securing the bag, making advocacy work for you, legal playbook, understanding the rules of the game, beyond the algorithm, diversifying platforms and owning your audience, and of course, AI Unlocked, supercharging your content. And then today we are going to be joined by special guests Elizabeth Warren and Hakeem Jeffries.
Right.
So that's going to be fun to watch.
I'm excited the speaker will be there. Is there going to be rhyming, do you think? Maybe. I got to tell you, that list of things didn't feel like, didn't give me a lot of FOMO, I guess. Let's say that. I don't have a ton of FOMO. I'm happy you're taking one for the team and representing us there. I do think they could update the rhetoric a little bit. I thought we're trying to, have the left update their language to use a little fewer buzzwords, but I do like that they want people to make money. Capitalism is happening there, securing the bag. So I have mixed views.
Here's the origin for me at Trending Up. So I got invited last year when I was not creating content, and I was like, I'm too cool to be here. I don't make content. And now it's this year. It's like, fuck me. But last year I wanted to go on a date with a girl who was in New York City, and I was living in LA at the time, and I didn't really have travel money, but I knew that I was going to be moving to New York in the summer. So I wanted to hang out with this girl sort of as like a pilot date. And they all, Trending Up, the conference.
How'd it go?
Great at the time. How did the whole thing go as a whole? We'll talk about that another time. At the time, it was a hoot. But I got sponsored by an organization called Move On through my friend Jordan Yule, who's the best. And they flew me out and they put me up. So I said, I know what I can do. I could have them get my flight from LA to DC and then get my return flight several days later from New York to LA, and then I'll just pay $40 for the bus to New York City and stay with a bunch of my friends. So it was a foolproof plan. I go to this content creator conference, but then I make a couple like really good friends who are still my friends to this day and are kind of the best. And I met some people who ended up being guests on this show, including the great Jessica Burbank, who's my big sister. So I figured now that we're doing FYPod, it's like a liberal content creator convention, the type of place where I'm probably going to meet a bunch of people who will end up inviting on the show. So I'm here sort of scouting talent. And also
have we scouted anybody? Is there anybody you're impressed with?
Yeah, I would say there's some people who might be interesting. Nobody who I'm like, oh, we desperately need to get them on, but some interesting folks. Also, my autistic little brother just graduated the special needs program at Florida Atlantic University. RFK says that he can't wipe his own ass or something like that, but he just graduated college, which I never could do. So his graduation present was tickets to come join me at this hotel, and he's hanging out with me at the conference. And he really liked socializing with other 20-somethings, and because he's in a lot of special needs programs, he doesn't always get to meet them. So last night I got the pleasure of watching one of the Midas Touch kids and Harry Sisson and some of the other 20-something liberal activists do a shot at a hotel bar with my developmentally disabled younger brother. And that was like Avengers Endgame for being a fucking dweeb. And I had a great time. But no, I'm getting to hang out with Harry Sisson, who's just a blast, friend of the show. Jessica and I said some pretty judgmental things about Harry's fuckboyish behaviors on the show, and Harry had listened to that episode. And just a couple minutes ago, I was walking out of a panel with Jessica, and we bumped into Harry, and Jessica was like, hey, so I did say some things about you on FYPod. I hope you thought that we were tough but fair. And I ended up chatting with them for a couple minutes, and it was very funny and awkward and great. But the point is, it's liberal prom. If you're a nerd, you would love it. We've got Hakeem Jeffries. We've got kids who are like doing TikTok dances on like green screen videos with like tweets from Tim Walz and shit. And it's fun. And, they all think you're so cool, Tim. It's like
Oh, really?
Dude, you are so the cool kid amongst these people, because I think they look at specifically your show for Bulwark as something that's a little bit more bad boy than maybe like the Crooked Guys or like the Midas Touch nerds and stuff like that. So like anytime someone introduces me, he's like, he does a show with Tim Miller. They're like, ooh. I'm like, okay, you know what? Fucking invite Tim then. But you got stands,
no thanks.
dude.
I don't want to go. I love that. I love to hear that. I was out till 4 a.m. On Saturday night, being bad. So it makes sense that they would have that impression of me.
Wait, I thought you said you fell asleep during the Nuggets
That was
game.
the next night. Yeah, you texted me the next night to congratulate me on the Nuggets win, but I was asleep, and I was asleep because I'm not that fucking bad of a bad boy. I mean, I can't go out till 4 a.m. 2 nights in a row. I went out to 4 a.m. one night, and then the next night I fell asleep watching the Nuggets on the couch like an old man, with my socks on. And, it's just one of those things. That's the nature of aging, Cameron. Well, I'm excited. I would like to hear more. I'd like to see some content creation from there, Don't just flirt, all right? Like let's get some content out there. Let's see what we should test them.
When did I say that I was flirting?
Runs, try them out, run them through the paces. You didn't say you're flirting. I just meant socially flirting.
I will do a video of me doing a TikTok dance, a viral TikTok dance, if I can get Bill Crystal to do it with me.
Okay, I'm gonna work on that. In the meantime, I want to see you testing these guys out. Like giving them some hard questions, asking them uncomfortable things, seeing how they do, seeing if they're going to create good content. And see if we're ready to bring them up to the big leagues. And tell your brother, I already sent him a congratulations, but tell him congrats.
Oh, that's so sweet. I got to tell you, man, Harry Sisson really solidified himself as a sweetheart in my head, because my little brother is a little bastard, but I'm such a sucker for the kid. And anytime someone is nice to Holden, they just hold a special place in my heart. And everybody at this conference has been so sweet to him. And, it could make a grown man cry. So thank you very much for that, Tim. One more thing before we go today. Yeah. I have another Gen Z life advice segment. It's very quick.
Oh, great.
If you are on a benzodiazepine and you want to get off of the benzodiazepine, speak to your doctor first, because I was on Xanax and I was prescribed it as needed. And my doctor told me that I was on like a normal, manageable amount. And I thought that I wasn't on that much. So I said, you know what? I'm getting reliant on this for sleep and I'm taking this when I don't even necessarily need it. So I'm just going to stop. And then over the course of 3 days, I start to get really paranoid. I start to feel this very shaking physical discomfort. And I think it's because I'm losing sleep, because since I stopped taking the pill to sleep, I knew that I was going to be sacrificing some hours every night. And I call my doctor and I'm like, Doc, I need a new sleeping pill. Like, this is getting really bad. And I started explaining my symptoms. And he was like, did you fucking cold turkey off your Xanax? And I was like, yeah. And he said, okay, you fucking moron. That's not how it works. And I found out that I was in withdrawal. So for those of you who are on pills, take it seriously. Talk to your doctor.
It sounds like this is good advice for one non-Zoomer in particular, John Fetterman. So John Fetterman, please listen to Cameron Kasky. Everybody else, keep slaying. And Cameron, I want a ranking from you on the Saturday pod of the top 5 liberal TikTok influencers. Everybody else, while Cameron's out there playing, you guys come back, focus, lock in. We'll see you on the next FYPod on Saturday.